Linda McHenry, host of the Writer's Voice podcast. And my guest today is Richard J. Cass, who writes all kinds of really neat things. And we're going to talk about mystery and writing in Boston and a bunch of other things. But first, I want to introduce him and his new book that's out in October, Sweetie Bogan Sorrow. Hi, Dick.
Hey, how are you, Linda? Nice to talk to you. Thanks
Show
for
us
having
that
me.
book cover.
You want to see the book cover?
Oh,
There it
yeah.
is.
There you go.
I have one of the world's best book cover designers. My
Really?
publisher has a graphic designer in Colorado who's done the cover for all my books. She has a real gift for getting into the book and pulling the sense of it out into an image.
Great. So you live in Maine.
I live
But
in Maine.
you're
I live in
from
Cape Elizabeth.
Cape Elizabeth.
which
And
is
you're
right
from
outside Portland.
Boston, right?
I did. I grew up in Boston. My family is pretty well, or was pretty well ensconced in Boston up until the time I got out of high school.
So your books are set a lot in Boston, and I know you and I were chatting before, and you use the setting and the political and the social climate a lot. Why don't you
Sure.
talk about that? Because
One of the things I think crime fiction does really well, or good crime fiction does, as well as tell a good story and get people involved in what's going on sort of plot-wise, is comment on social and cultural issues. So to a certain extent, what I'm trying to do, and Boston has a reputation for what I would politely call balkanization. You live in one neighborhood and you go to one church in the parish, and you have this sort of thing. And so one of the things I'm trying to play with a little bit is some of the social parts of being a Bostonian from certain neighborhoods.
That must attract certain readers. Your local readers, the people who are from the neighborhood, they must really enjoy that. And I would imagine people from other cities. You must see that in other cities. Boston can't be the only city where they have that little cliquishness thing going on.
I think you can pretty much go to any crime fiction series that's set in a city, and you'll see that if it goes any deeper than just a roaring story, it will get into some of the social issues.
So another thing I think you mentioned with your books is, if you want to talk about that, you have your series of books, and the two primary characters are from two different classes in the city. Right. And I think that's another thing when you're writing books, you're writing from the perspective of the different characters. Tell me how you approach that.
Well, technically, there's kind of an interesting thing, because when I wrote the first book, as is true with most first books, I think, I had no idea what I was doing. So what I wound up with was two point of view characters, one in first person and one in third. And so the bar owner in my books is Elder Darrow, and he's an alcoholic who decides to buy a bar, thinking that if he's around alcohol and people drinking all the time, he won't be as tempted as much. The other point of view character is Dan Burton, who's a homicide detective for the city of Boston, for Boston Police, and he's the third person point of view. He comes from a blue collar background in Charlestown. Elder comes from Beacon Hill, or not Beacon Hill, from Louisburg Square, if you know Boston at all. That's the top of the top. I mean, the thing with the two point of views gave me a lot of leeway, and I wish I could take credit for having thought of it, but I really sort of backed into it, and I've carried that through the 5 books so far.
So, Sweetie Bogan's Sorrow coming out in October.
October 2nd is
very
the date.
second, and you can find that on rjcassbooks.com. And where else?
We've got 4 or 5 just wonderful independent bookstores in Portland, and I've been pushing them very hard.
Well, thanks for visiting with me. I hope to see you here on the podcast again soon.
That'd be great.
Yep, Richard J. Cass with Sweetie Bogan Sorrow, rjcassbooks.com. Thank you.
Thank you.